good. How are you?
Good, good.
Awesome. And let's see who is here today with us. Definitely check out the chat and say hello to everyone before we get started. Okay. All right, so we had Emily Chambers in here earlier. Hit the like on the way in, y'all. Thank you very much. Cheers to you, Emily. It's lovely to see you. All right, we have James Morgan. Evening, ladies. Adriana just posted your stream, so I thought I would say hello, and he'll be back. Thank you, James Morgan. Happy to see you. Kira. Woohoo, made it. We're happy that you're here. That's awesome. Cheers.
Good to see you, Kira.
All right, we have Bourbon Baller. Cheers, ladies. Hello, nice to see you, Bourbon Baller. Thank you. We have Slapshot. Hello, good evening, women of whiskeys. Cheers, everyone. So, cheers.
Glad you made it. Thanks for coming. I love Lilith's comment. Let's get this party started. Nice. Let's have our drink. I know we made some cocktails.
We absolutely did. Let's see. Lilith. Oh, let's get this party started. Hanging out for a drink. Hopefully I can start again this afternoon. I hope you can as well, Lil, and cheers to you, and thanks for being here. All right. We have Jerry Black. Cheers, everyone from Windy, Iowa. Nice to see you. Glad you're here, and cheers.
Hi, Jerry. It seems a little windy here in Idaho, too. We're dying a little over here.
All right. Let's see. We have Stella. Hi, ladies. Hi, everyone. Hi, Stella. It's nice to see you again.
Hi, Stella.
All right. We have Lone Wanderer 360. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Lone Wanderer. We're glad
you're here. Noah. Cheers.
We have Tyler Sadler coming over from the Mash and Drum. Well, nice to see you. We're happy to have you, and cheers. Let's see. Oh, Jeffrey Wack. Hello again, whiskey friends. We're happy you're here. Good evening. Let's see.
Mr. Wack.
Biking Bourbon. Cheers from a hotel in Indiana. Well, cheers. I'm glad you're hanging out with us while you're chilling in the hotel.
What are you doing in a hotel, Biking Bourbon?
We have Dan O.B. Good evening. Evening to you. I'm glad you're here. We have Bourbon. Cheers, all. Cheers to you. Happy belated birthday.
How are ya?
All right. We have Scott Pigsley. Cheers, ladies. Nice to see you. We're glad you're here. Hope your cookies came out great. Eric Thompson, here from the Deathless Dogs. Well, nice to see you. We're glad that you came over. Cheers.
Cheers, Eric. Good to see you.
Ooh, Steve Burkow. Evening all, and cheers. Cheers to you. Good evening. We're happy that you came over. We have the Deathless Dogs. Cheers, everyone. It's nice to see you. Cheers. I'm actually starting out with a little Eagle Rare before we have our cocktail this evening.
Good to see you, Dan from Deathless Dogs. They, I believe, just finished streaming. I wasn't able to make it over there, but glad you made it over here. Thank you.
Yep, we have Big Vic over here now, too. Cheers, ladies. Cheers to you.
Cheers, Vic.
We have John T. Cheers, Jen. You look thirsty. I am thirsty. Cheers to you. We're glad you're here. Northwest Bourbon. Cheers, Women of Whiskeys. Cheers to you. We're glad that you have come over. We have T276, just finished with the Mash and Drum live stream. Well, awesome. We're glad that you're here. Thanks for coming over. We have Cool 62 Chev. Evening, ladies. Evening to you. We're glad you're here.
Glad you're here. How are you?
We have Whiskey Eyes. I have one eye open, but wanted to say hi before the Z's. Cheers, and hope it is a great night. Thanks, Trish, and I hope you feel better, and hopefully you're able to get on with us.
Yeah, tomorrow. Feel better, Trish.
All right, we have Katie Turk. Good evening, all. Katie, it's nice to see you. Thanks for coming over. And, of course, we have Ethan Turk as well. Cheers, y'all. Cheers.
So I poured a little Elijah Craig 18. I just froze my tushy off outside, and it just sounded like a really nice pour to start with tonight.
Absolutely. Let's see. We have Justin Jonas. Cheers, ladies. At Whiskey Mountain said this was the happening place to be. It is, and we're glad that you have come to join us. So cheers to you.
Hopefully everybody's ready to hear a little true crime and sip a little cocktail or whatever you poured in the glass.
All right. And we have Bubble Bath Bourbon. It's nice to see you. We're happy you're here. All right.
Oh, that's good.
All right. So I'm glad everyone has come to join us today, and we're going to get into our case shortly. I just wanted to go over our quick cocktail. So I actually made the hot toddy. I did make the video. It is now on YouTube, so thanks for all the support. That was interesting to do. So for the hot toddy, it's fairly easy to make. So you're just going to need 3/4 of a cup of hot water. You're going to need 2 1/4 ounces of your whiskey of your choice, the 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of honey, and then you mix it all together and put your cinnamon stick in there. And once the honey is dissolved, you should be able to enjoy your delicious cocktail. And I actually had not had a hot toddy before I made the video. So it was a first for me. And I actually really enjoyed it more than I expected to.
So I made mine ahead of time. And I put mine in my favorite mug. I don't even know if you can tell what it says. But my
is that say Ellie and Michelle?
Made this for me for Christmas. It says Ellie and Michelle. It's got my little doggy on there.
Very nice.
So we're sipping our hot toddy out of Ellie's glass.
Very nice. So I hope everyone was able to either check out the video or knew how to make a hot toddy already and made it to join us today for our case. And Michelle's going to give us a little overview, and then we're going to go ahead and get into it.
Yes. So this case I was a little familiar with, but once I dug into it, I realized how bonkers this really is. I mean, oh my gosh. So it is the case of Tyler Hadley, also known as the house party killer, or as he likes to call himself now, the Hammer Boy.
Yes.
So just quick rundown. This young man at the age of 17 decides to throw a house party with his dead parents' bodies in the home. And getting from point A to point B is quite the story. So just kind of to get it started, it was July 16th of 2011 that this took place. So again, he was only 17. He had an older brother that had gone off to college. So his parents, Mary Jo and Blake Hadley, they lived in Florida. And it was a nice little town. They wanted to be closer to their in-laws, so they moved there to raise their family. Sounds like the town was a little boring, so there wasn't much for the teens to do. But they were very close-knit, a very close-knit family. People said that maybe they doted on Tyler a bit because he was born very premature. So he was born December 16th, 1993. And he had to stay in the NICU for like a month or something like that. And so she kind of hovered over him, kind of gave him maybe a little more than she should. So that's kind of where this starts. I think that everybody kind of questions, is this because they doted on him too much, or was it mental health issues? And as we kind of go through this, I think it's a combination of all of the above. Wouldn't you say, Jen?
I would.
Yeah. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know everything there is to know about mental health, but as we kind of go into the details of this boy was struggling. The signs were there. I don't know. It seemed like a real struggle. Looks like some more people joined us. If we want to catch up real quick before we dive into all these details. It's a little hard to keep up with chat when we're going into the case. So
absolutely. I see, let's see, Cheech is here, saying hey to Richie. So we're happy you're here, Cheech. Cheers. And speaking of Richie Z, he is here as well, and we're happy you're here. He's saying hello to Will and Lone Wanderer.
Cheers, Richie.
Will Devilar is here, saying cheers to Noah and asking about the weather. Will, we're happy that you're here. Thanks for coming over. We have JG, Weekend at Bernie's, seen the movie. I don't know if that's correct reference. We have Bayou Dreams, Party with Bodies, Weekend at Bernie style.
Yep.
Got it. Absolutely. We have the Saline 786, wondering if Matt Porter is hovering in the room. That would be neat. Would love to have him here.
Are you, Matt? Are you hovering in the room?
Let's see. We have Cohen had to smell worse than Whiskey Crusaders, Will and Sarah's house. I don't know what that means. I've never been there, so I can't speak to that. So let's see. Mike Franklin's here. Thanks for the entertainment. We're happy that you're here as well. All right, so let's go ahead and just go ahead and we're going to.
All right. So let's dive right in, shall we?
Absolutely.
Okay. So a little backdrop on this story. Tyler and his brother and his parents, again, really tight-knit. They say that maybe Mary Jo, his mom, and him were super, super tight, way more than him and his dad, but not like in a weird way. Just like, you know how sometimes a mom and a son or a mom and a daughter, they have that stronger bond. Well, Tyler and Mary Jo had that. He was very kind and caring and a sweet boy. There was no problems with him really as he was younger. And then once he got to be right around 8 to 10 years old, like things just started to change, like drastically out of the blue. And a lot of people noticed it. Mary Jo kind of liked that denial piece of the behavior change, but they definitely saw that he was starting to struggle with his mental health. And, you know, sometimes you hear these cases and they struggle with their mental health and nobody saw it or nobody did anything. Mary Jo and Blake, they got right in there, got him into counseling. They were very proactive on it. So, but he started at a very young age suffering from severe anxiety, depression, self-esteem issues, body image issues. And very, very young, they started putting him on medications. You know, there's a lot of controversy around that. You know, I don't know if that's too young. That's not something I really have an opinion on. But there was a little controversy around, 9, 10 years old going on this cocktail of medications.
Yes, there was the cocktail medications, and then she wanted to put him on the human growth hormone to give him more confidence to kind of bulk him up, as she thought that would be a better way for him to go to not be picked on or anything like that.
Yeah, because he was kind of a smaller boy. And I think that's because of him being such a preemie, right? And so, I think they just she really wanted her son to have, an easy life, and growth hormones and all this stuff she thought was going to maybe kind of be the fix-all.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, he's on this cocktail of medications, and she did actually, I think it was around the age of 12, started him on those growth hormones.
Yes.
And they're very controversial in themselves. So he was then, as he got just a little bit older, maybe like around 12-ish, he started getting severe acne. Then he started kind of filling out, and, some people called him chubby, a little on the thicker side. And boy, he struggled with that.
Yeah, like, he was called sturdy, and he didn't like that. He took at being that he was being told he was fat by being told that he was sturdy. So he started getting image issues from that point. And
I don't think he was a fat boy. I think he was stocky. He was a stocky boy. And, I think that when you take that depression and that anxiety and that self-esteem issues, and then you throw all this stuff at once, I think it just was a little too much for his brain to handle, I think, in my opinion. So, but then, you know, he was doing all that, and then he started real young. I want to say, gosh, around 15, he started drinking very heavily, you know, self-medicating a little bit.
Yeah. So
And that's when he got real rebellious, fighting with his parents, back talking. And Blake kind of let Mary Jo be the bad guy and the more strict parent, which wasn't even really that strict. I mean, it was the normal, you're grounded, or, you know, give me your phone, or you can't go to your friend's house kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Here's Mary Jo and Blake. So these are his parents. Okay.
And they were so sweet. Like, people were talking about how she was, I think, a school teacher, right? And
Yes.
her kids were saying, her, like, students were saying that even if you were a total jerk and you weren't doing well, she'd do anything for you. She was that woman that anybody could count on. And Blake was kind of that goofy dad. You know, everybody knows that dad that's kind of goofy and kind of embarrass him, be kind of quirky. And that was kind of Blake. And they were massively in love. Like, it was just like that sweet couple that loved their family and their friends loved them. You know, I feel like there's that couple in so many of these cases that we do where everybody was just like, they were perfect.
Right.
So, so Mary Jo decides she's going to kind of get a little more strict. So the stricter she gets, you know, he's 15. I mean, 15-year-olds, they can be assholes, really. You know?
Yeah.
Even when they don't have mental health issues. And so he got really mouthy. He got really rebellious. The stricter she got, the more rebellious he got. He started doing things like breaking out people's windows and fighting and staying out late and getting really drunk and coming home. And he actually got, on his juvenile record, had a burglary charge because he was just being a bad kid, you know? And then he started to become really obsessed with fire, you know, and we see these kinds of things a lot. You know, that's a telltale sign, you know, and not just fire, but burning crap down.
Yes, he had taken a sofa because they lived by a nature preserve and took a whole sofa over there and set it on fire in the nature preserve. And they just gave him a warning.
Yeah, he like burned like most of this wildlife preserve down.
Yeah, it was a lot of damage.
Yeah, him and a couple buddies, and they're like, shame on you. Don't do that again. I don't know. I feel like maybe had there been a little bit more than a warning there. I don't know.
Yeah, so, you never know. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and, you know, this was also kind of where it's a smaller town. It's, you know, I mean, it's not like Mayberry, but it was more, they were all kind of tight-knit, and maybe they didn't want to come down on him because he was younger. I don't know, but he burned down a wildlife preserve.
Yeah.
It's a wildlife
pretty
preserve,
big deal.
You know? I don't know. So, so now he's taking Accutane for his acne as well as all this stuff. He's drinking heavily. And, you know, why not start doing drugs? You know, why not throw that in the mix? So at this point, he's smoking pot. He's doing ecstasy. He's doing hallucinogenics. And he was really, really into ecstasy, if I remember right.
Yes.
That was like kind of the thing.
Yeah, so he was very into ecstasy and alcohol combination. He definitely liked to mix his different intoxicants.
Yeah, and I don't know, it seems to me like ecstasy and alcohol in excess together with the meds that he's taking for his anxiety and stuff, that just seems like a horrible combination.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Especially with a 15-year-old's hormones as well, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a whole lot going on there.
Yeah. So, but even at this young age, he started kind of openly saying things to people like, yeah, you know, I'd just love to kill him. I just love to kill my parents someday. What? You know, and nobody like thought anything about it. They're like, oh, you know, he has a dark sense of humor. Haha. No, I'm going to I really want to kill my parents.
Yeah, they did chalk it up to, oh, I just thought he was kidding.
Yeah.
There is a lot of that. I didn't take him seriously. I just thought he was mad, blowing off steam. You know, kids say things they don't mean. So there was a lot of, oh, we didn't really think that he was going to go through with it. The more they got into it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It seems like there was a Facebook message. What was her? Mercedes, I think her name was, with this girl. So Mary Jo, his mom, got really mad because so first he was doing some things, like he got really, really drunk one night, came home, like peed in his friend's bed or something like that. And they're like, that's it, you're going to rehab. And he lost his mind. You know, he did not take that well.
No, he didn't want to go because he didn't want the restrictions of the rehab. So he did not want to go at all. So he did try to fight that with his parents. But his parents told him, you know, you kind of got to go. We need to get you help, and went that route.
Yeah. I mean, you came home and peed in your friend's bed, and this kind of stuff's happening on a regular basis. There might be a problem, but yeah. I mean, that was the final straw, peeing in the bed. So, and they're like at their wits' end. You know, this was their sweet boy that they were so close, and he's just kind of turning into an asshole, you know? So they go through all this, and he'd been arrested now for the burglary. He'd already gone to, you know, they tried to get him some help. That wasn't working. He was going to counseling. He's on all these medications, and he's just becoming more and more of an ass. So, and people say at the high school, they now look back and they're like, he wasn't popular, but he wasn't unpopular. It's like most people just didn't even know who he was. So he's doing all this stuff, and he's only got a small group of friends. He was just kind of overlooked. So, hi, Adam. How are you? I just kind of looked up and started seeing some people in chat. Looks like we have a few more people. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. We are doing the case of Tyler Hadley, the house party killer. And we're sipping on our hot toddy and our pour for the evening. So for those of you that are just joining us, we're talking about Tyler, who threw a house party while his parents' bodies were in the house.
Absolutely.
So his brother had moved and gone off to college. And, you know, people would say that he was still really close to his mom. You know, he'd be sitting on the couch and he'd kind of lean into her, or he'd, you know, bye mom, love you. So even though he was being this total jerk, he was still very affectionate with his mom. They were still real close. And so every time he'd get mad, he would say how he wanted to kill his parents. So this girl, Mercedes, they're messaging because after he got arrested, they took his phone, right?
Yes, they did take his phone.
She's like, I'm done. You're grounded. Give me your phone. You can't have it anymore. You know? Okay. So he completely loses his mind again. You know, teenager without a phone. Oh my God.
But he's still able to use the computer.
Yeah. And he was still allowed to go to friends' houses and all that stuff. And so he's Facebook messaging. He's like, hey, my mom took my phone, so don't talk about drugs.
Yes.
Oh, okay. He's like, yeah. And quote, yeah, she's a see you next Tuesday. Gonna kill her for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's how he says it.
Yeah. He talked about it quite often.
Mm-hmm. And
quite often.
People were just like, and her response was something like, no jail time. I mean, I don't know. It's like nobody really took him seriously, and they almost kind of like fueled it, but didn't, in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, he's talking about all this stuff, and I don't know, it was so July 15th of 2011. He like goes in and gets these garden shears, and his parents are sleeping, and he's standing over them while they're sleeping. And he said he just wanted to shove it right through their bodies while they were sleeping. That was his plan.
Yes, that was his original plan.
Yeah, exactly. So he's standing there. They're dead asleep. Well, dead asleep. They're asleep. and he knows how he's going to do this. And nobody really knows why. I don't know, Jen, if you found out why. I couldn't find out why, but he didn't do it that night. Did you?
No, he went in there to do it, and then he kind of got cold feet about it, and then he had messaged his friend because he was like, "Did you do it?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, but I'm going to later." So his friends were going back and forth with him, stating, "Are you going to do it?" And then he's like, "Oh, I haven't done it yet." So no one was still taking him seriously, even though he was actively talking about it.
And I don't know much about this friend that he's talking to now, but for a friend to be like, "Hey, did you do it?" I don't know. I mean, that seems a little sketchy. Everybody's like, "Oh, we thought he was kidding." Did you though?
Yeah,
Did you
absolutely.
really? So, so he didn't. And earlier that evening, he had gone out to dinner with his parents, and I think it was his aunt. And people say they like had this great dinner. Everybody was joking and laughing. And he ran into a friend at the restaurant and was like, "Hey, big party at my house tomorrow night. It's going to be epic, man. You should come." And
Yes.
then,
So that was his friend Cameron, and it was his birthday the next day. And he's like, "Well, you should come to the house. I'm having this massive party." And that was the night, like 2 nights before. And then he was having dinner with his family. And this is the family photo that they took before this all took place. So this is Tyler, his brother, Ryan, his grandparents, his mom and dad, and then his aunt and uncle. So very close knit family, and they were always doing things together. And so that was like the night before the whole murder took place.
yeah, the night before. So
Yeah.
you can see they were happy. Like,
Yeah, the
things
aunt
were
said
great.
that he was fine. They seemed great. They had a great communication. They all were fine talking about what's coming up for the weekend and didn't have any second thought that anything like this was going to take place.
Yeah, and they say later that he actually planned this out for like 3 weeks. So when he's sitting there with his family having dinner, he knows that tomorrow he's going to kill them and throw a party.
Yeah, it's already in the play. Yeah, for sure.
And there was no signs that anybody, except for the fact that he's telling everyone that he's going to kill his parents.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that. So, so for whatever reason, that night he doesn't do it. And I couldn't find out why that was.
No, he didn't say through any of his interviews or anything of why he didn't do it that night. He just said that he didn't do it, that he was going to wait.
Yeah. And so like the next day he's at school. So July 16th, he's telling everybody that he's going to have this massive party. And they're like, "Really? You are? Because, we met your parents. I don't see them letting you have one." He's like, No, I am. And then he'd be like, "Well, maybe." And so nobody really knew if he was going to have this party or not. Like, you remember in high school when people would talk all big and then go, "Oh, it didn't work out,"
Yeah. Yeah. So he was going back and forth. He had posted on his Facebook wall, might be a party later, ... And then later, a few hours later, probably like 3 or 4 hours later, he had put up on his wall again, "Party at my place, hit me up."
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like he's like, "We're going to do it now, party coming." But what happens is, like, I think it was around 5 p.m. that night, he takes 3 ecstasy pills.
Yes.
And there's different accounts. Some people said that he had been drinking prior to that. Some said that he started with the pills. But either way, he was mixing the shit up.
Yes, he was.
He was rolling. So
for sure.
I mean, so he takes these pills and he obtains a claw hammer. And
yes, he does.
He knows exactly what his plan is at this point. He's taken the time. The garden shears weren't the way to go. We're going to go with a claw hammer. I mean, good God. So he gets up there. His mom they have, remember the day before laptops when you had like a computer station somewhere in the house? Her computer station is right by the dining room table area. So she's sitting at it and she's working away on the computer. And he comes up behind her and he's holding this claw hammer like over her head like this. And he's just standing there thinking about it for 5 whole minutes. I mean, think of how long. 5 minutes he's standing there. She has no clue. He's
Yeah,
standing
he
over
he
her.
said he stood there for about 5 minutes. He had just taken his 3 ecstasy pills and maybe it was courage building. But he said he stood there and then he just went for it.
Yeah, and when we say went for it, I mean, so she only screamed out once, is
Yes.
from what and the only word she said was, "Why?"
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, how heartbreaking. And he hit her, what was it, 36 times?
Yes, 36 times with the claw hammer.
And they're saying that she lived through all 36 blows from her
Yes.
son.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. So, and I think you were able to obtain most of the information from the autopsy report on what her wounds were like.
Yes.
But I couldn't imagine being a mom and seeing your son and like, my son is killing me.
Yeah. So Mary Jo, okay, so this is the little drawing. So the stuff that she sustained, or the wound she sustained, she had defensive wounds on her arms, wrist, and hand. She had wounds on the upper torso and the back of her head. Her spine was actually fractured. And they say that the only reason why her spine was fractured is because when he hit her, when she reached back from the hit, that she reached back so hard when she bent back that it snapped her spine. And then she had 7 broken ribs. Her left lung was punctured. She had 14 separate blows to the head that pulverized the left side of her skull. And she had a massive gash on her face. And this is from the autopsy from that one.
So, and I mean, that takes, I don't know, it takes, I think, it speaks to something when you can take a claw hammer to your parent, and that takes a while. They said it actually happened very quickly because it was like a frenzy.
Yeah.
But I just, the coldness and the callousness of this case just chilled me.
Absolutely.
So Blake's in the other room, his dad, and he hears this, and like I said, it happened very quickly. So he's like, "What's going on?" He comes out, and again, he says one thing. He says, "Why?" And Tyler says, "Why the fuck not?"
Yes. Over and over again. As he, continually beats his dad. So his dad was a big person. He was 6'3", 240 pounds. He was a big guy. And Tyler is not that big of a person. So when he was arrested, so this is him. So he's not that big. He's tall, but he's not muscular.
Yeah.
Right. So he had to really lay into this to make it happen. So he kept screaming, "Why the fuck not?" at his dad as he continually laid down this beating.
Yeah. I mean, because this is such a heavy topic, I have to acknowledge Cohen's comment. He says, "Mom got really hammered that night."
Yeah. Unfortunately.
It's really dark information, and sometimes you just got to lighten it up, because this was a hard one as a parent to walk through and wade through.
Right. So Blake Hadley had even worse wounds than Mary Jo. So Blake Hadley had a broken nose, lacerations to the forehead, inside of his ear, his elbow, and his brain. He had the hammer imprint on the temple area of the side of his head. There was a 13-centimeter long laceration from the ear to the top of the head. His skull was caved in, 5 lacerations at the base of the skull, 12 blows to the head, 11 injuries to the right arm. Both of his humerus bones were broken, and his fibula bone on the left leg was completely shattered when they did the autopsies.
Yeah, I mean, why the F not?
Yeah, so if you're not familiar of what a claw hammer looks like, so this is actually from the trial. So here is kind of the top of it.
Yeah.
And then that was the picture they were using to show the portion of what had hit the top of Mr. Hadley's head, unfortunately. So those were the 2 that came from. And then this kind of shows you the long part. So it was pretty long. But yeah, so that's what he used He didn't use any other weapon other than that. That was his only weapon.
Yeah, so it wasn't like something you would put nails in and hang picture frames. It was like a carpenter's hammer, one of those big ones.
Absolutely. So it was a pretty brutal beating.
Yeah. So so this happens, and like I said, it didn't take a long time.
No. The cleanup took longer.
Yeah. So Tyler decides he's going to go get some towels and like wrap it around their heads and drag their bodies into the master bedroom.
Yes.
And kind of, tries to clean it up, spends like 3 hours, I think it was, cleaning up this crime scene, does a horrible job at it.
Yeah.
And then decides, you know what? I'm going to go grab all the furniture I can get my hands on, desks and chairs and books and clothes, and just piles it all on top of their bodies.
Anything that had any type of evidence or blood trace that he could see, he was throwing in that room. Any pictures of his family he threw in that room, and put them face down, piled everything on it, and shut and locked the door.
Yeah. I mean, and I think we have a picture of that room. It was insane. Yes. It was insane the way he just piled it all on top of them. Whatever he could find, it just stacked it up on them. So at this point, yeah, I mean, anything, pictures, he's pulling stuff off walls at this point, just to cover him up. And then he decides, you know what, I'm going to take a shower because it's time to have the party. So he posts on Facebook, hey, party at my house, hit me up. And everybody's like, oh, well, I guess he is having this party. I guess it's really going to happen now. So about 11 o'clock that night, everybody starts showing up. And it said that there was, close to 100 people in this house. So, and the kids were like, most of them, they didn't even know whose house it was. They didn't know who he was. They didn't. So they had no regard for this home. They trashed it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, like with high school parties, I can only speak from my experience. It was like, hey, there's a party at this house. A lot of times you don't know the person. It may be a person that you're going with knows such and such at the party. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these kids had no regard for the home because they didn't know the family. So it's just like, oh, I'm going to throw my cigarette butts. I'm going to throw my beer bottles everywhere. They trashed this house. It was a complete mess when they got there.
Yeah, people were saying that, they were just throwing stuff. They were pulling stuff off walls. They were breaking things. They were throwing cigarettes on the floor. And at first he was like, hey, man, this is my parents' house. Don't smoke in it. But then he started getting worried that people would hang outside and it would get loud. So he's like, oh, just go ahead and smoke in it. It's fine.
Yeah, his biggest concern was the noise and people being outside because he didn't want to get the noise complaints or the neighbors calling the police or anything like that. So he was like, I don't care. You can go ahead and smoke in the house. Just don't come outside.
Yeah. And I'm like, so these kids, it's like, they think his parents are coming back because he told all these different stories like my parents are out of town or like all this stuff. But they think parents are coming back at some point and they just don't give a shit.
Well, I mean, because it doesn't affect them, you know, they don't have to deal with the aftermath. So it's just like, I'm here to have a good time, whatever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So at one point they like take the dining room table and they move it out and they set up like a beer pong station, right?
Yes, they did set up a beer pong table in the middle. And then it was in the middle of the room. So it should have a sofa. It should have all the living room furniture. And there was like half of a sofa is all disarray in the corner. And then it was literally just the beer pong table right in front of the kitchen. And that was it. Yeah. And then just trash and like sticky stuff all over the floors. And, people are just like, oh, this guy's parents are out of town. He just doesn't know how to clean up after himself, going on with my way. And we're going to play beer pong and we're going to keep going and have a good time. And
they set the beer pong table right up next to that computer. And they were using the computer to like play music on and stuff.
Absolutely.
And they were like, man, there's this brown sticky stuff all over the computer keyboard. It's on the floor under the beer pong table. They thought it was Coca-Cola or something like that.
Correct.
Brown, sticky substance.
Yeah. And actually, one of the party goers stated, because not everybody's a good shot at beer pong, so it's going to go off the table eventually. And it went on the ground, it rolled, it got stuck, and the girl's like, ew, it's all sticky. And all they did was take it to the sink, rinse it off, and continue to play.
So it's bouncing in their cups and they're drinking the
no, nothing good there.
Ugh. So, I mean, and the whole thing was weird. He was like kind of zoning off, and they would be like a couple of times people walked down the hall towards the master bedroom. He's like, get out of there. You can't be over there, But then there was other times that he was like, hey man, we need more alcohol. Let's go get more alcohol. And so like him and his friend's girlfriend went to go get more alcohol because the guy was over 21.
Yes.
Guy goes into the store and he's like, so my dad's dead. And she's thinking like, a long time ago, she's like, oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So it was Mark Andrews was the over 21 guy at the high school party. Everybody has one of those. So, he was like, yeah, I'll totally take you up to the store, get you some more beer, the party can keep going. Rode up. Tyler's in the back seat with Mark's girlfriend at the time. I think her name was Ashley. And it turned to her and just said, oh, my dad's dead. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. But like a normal person, like she stated in her testimony was, I just felt bad. It was like a kid telling me, your dad died. Okay. She was thinking it happened like a while ago, not that day. And she even stated in an interview, I can't believe he just basically sat there and told me he killed his dad. And she's like, I don't even know this kid. Literally met him that day. But he was saying this to multiple people. And it was people that he had literally just met at this party. And I mean, it was a lot. Like, and they all gave interviews and everything to the police and were like, yeah, I went to this party. One gentleman, Ricardo, was like, hey, thanks for having this party and getting all the beer and really appreciate that. And he's like, and Tyler stated, oh, yeah, I just wanted to, have a good time before I go away. And of course, Ricardo stated, oh, where are you going? It's a general question. And he was like, oh, I mean, I'm probably either going to jail for a long time or I'm going to kill myself. So, and this was like his general conversation through, I think like 15 people about, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go to jail.
He's begging for someone to figure it out at this point, it seems like.
Yeah, because he had told his friend Ashley, oh, yeah, I'm going to go away for a long time, probably 60 years. And she said, for what? And he just said, well, you'll just find out tomorrow. So he was really trying to talk it out, tell people in kind of a weird way almost. There was a lot of joking through the house. Like one person was like, oh, hey, it smells like dead bodies in here. And, just as a joke, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? What's going on? That kind of thing.
Well, they said there was a horrible stench in the house, so it kind of became a joke. Can you imagine the next day going, oh my God, I really said it smelled like dead bodies, and there was dead bodies.
Yeah. So the kids kind of chalked it up to, the house wasn't clean at all. There are people that were smoking weed and, doing other things in the house. So they're just like, oh, and like body odor. So it just smells bad. But unless you have smelled that aroma before, it's not going to be something you're like, oh, I know exactly what that is.
One person even said they thought somebody was smoking cigars or something. Like, dead
sure, blame the weed.
Cigars. I don't know.
Yeah, so it was interesting. He had several conversations with people stating that he was going to go away or he was going to kill himself. That was the conversations he was having with several people throughout the night.
Real quick, I wanted to say, I'm seeing we have like Bubble Bath Bourbon. We've got Cheech from Whiskey Encore. We've got a few channels in here, and we love to support the other YouTube channels. If I have a mod that could maybe drop some of their links, I hope you would check them out because they've been very supportive of us and they have great content. So I'd just like to see some of those links so that people can go check some of those. I know usually Whiskey Eyes goes on after us. She's not feeling well today, so she won't be going on after us, but she has a great Wednesday night slot after us where they like play games and drink whiskey and.
Absolutely. So definitely, hopefully, Trish will be back next week, and y'all can go on with her after us on next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So. All right. So let's get back to this.
Yeah. So there was a lot of hints, I guess, and there was 2 dogs in the house, and this is so sad. You'd think my saddest part would be the bodies, but these little dogs, like. So there was 2 dogs, and one they found hiding in the bathtub shower, terrified. And the other one was like under the brother's bed. The brother had moved off to college, and he was hiding under there shaking. And they were just so traumatized, these poor little dogs. And it just broke my heart.
Yeah, they were there, unfortunately. And it was, people found them because it was either one girl went to the bathroom and found one of the dogs like there, and then so because people are trying to get into the master bedroom, because Tyler was saying don't go in there, of course people are like, oh well, maybe there's something else going on in there, let's kind of take a peek, but it was locked. The only thing that witnesses stated was that they were able to see that it looked like an oil-based paint almost that somebody tried to wipe off but did a very poor job at it. And then they noticed that there was a dark brown stain that was leading into the master bedroom, and they just chalked it up to this kid like trashing his house, and they didn't look any further. So it was pretty bad, but he was definitely looking to get this off his chest, and I think that's when he called his best friend that he's been best friends with.
Yes, John T. and Scott Pigsley, we do have Patreon. It is in the description as well as our merch site. So thanks for asking.
Yes, absolutely.
And so so his friend Michael, right? They've been friends for years.
Yes.
And if I remember, I mean, so he's like, it's all pent up, right, Jen? He's like, I gotta tell someone, no one's catching the vibe.
Yeah, no one's catching what I'm trying to put out there. No one is looking at all the hints that are around. No one is getting it. And I think that kind of got to him a little bit, because he does have all these people around. He's telling people he doesn't know what's going on, and no one's catching his drift almost. And so he really needed to talk to his best friend. So when he spoke to his best friend, Michael, he was like, hey, let's just walk to the corner, which they've done hundreds of times. It's where they walk to clear their heads, to talk as friends. And Tyler is just like, hey man, I really need to tell you something. And he was like, what? And he was like, I killed my parents. And Michael testified. He's like, he was like, no, you didn't. I don't believe you. That's not something you're going to do. And he was like, look at the signs. So then when they start walking back, Tyler is like, Michael, that both of my parents' cars are in the driveway. Yep. No one's seeing the signs. And he was like, I need you to look because no one's seeing these signs. So Tyler walks Michael through the house. So he takes Michael to the garage, which is where he took a selfie. So this is
remember these kids are both 17.
Yeah, so this is Tyler the night of the murders, and this was his last selfie with his best friend. His best friend testified that he took this selfie just because he knew it was going to be the last time that he saw his friend. So he wanted, I guess, kind of like a remembrance of it in some way, shape, or form, I guess. And then also, this was inside the garage. So this is all where the door was. And then every single one of these is just like blood splatter from where he was walking, and everything like that. So he's showing Tyler all of this. And Tyler is showing Michael that there's blood on the baseboards. Nobody's seeing it. He had stepped on stuff. There was a journal that was totally covered. Yeah. And then finally, the last stop for them was the master bedroom. And so Tyler opens the door. Michael peeks in. Of course, he sees like this mountain of just stuff, furniture, everything on top of it, broken glass. And then at the bottom of this pile, he sees Blake's leg sticking out.
Yeah, and he's white leg out from.
Yes. And so Michael's like, holy shit, and like shuts the door. And he's like, I can't be here, and like leaves. He's
Yeah,
like,
he's like, don't
booking
tell
it
me. I don't
down.
want to know this.
Right. So now the kids are starting to wonder what's up. You know, they see Michael booking it down the hallway. And so they're starting to get some murmurs around. So now all of the people that were talking to Tyler throughout the night are like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, should we go? And all this. And then some random person playing beer pong blurts out, he killed his parents. And he was like, haha, just kidding. And they continued to play beer pong.
Yeah,
weird vibe. So so more stuff was going on, and then a rumor broke out, oh hey, there's another party. So everyone books it out of the house. They're all getting in their cars, they're going down the street, they're like, let's get out of here, there's another party. And that was around 2 a.m.
Yeah, around 2 a.m. Yeah.
And so then when they get to the girl's place that's supposed to be having the party, she comes out in her PJs and she's like, no, there's no party going on here, you know, y'all need to go. They go back to Tyler's. So when they do go back to Tyler's and they're all outside, they're being rowdy, the neighbor decides to call the police. Now, the neighbor has known Tyler and his family since Tyler was born. So she was like, he was a good kid. We never had any issues. But this noise and these people in my yard and the beer cans everywhere is bullshit. So
they're trashing the house.
Yeah. So the cops come to the house, right? They see the beer cans, everything. They knock on the door.
Now, Tyler when cops come to a teen party, everybody's like, holy shit. And anybody over 21 is like out of there. Yeah.
So he told everybody, all the party goers, to basically hide, get in the back of the house. Tyler just answered the door at 2:15 in the morning, like, hey, officers, how you doing? And they're just like, oh, hey, we got a noise complaint. You know, we just want to check it out. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'll make sure there's no more noise. And they just said, okay, and left. SD says, or size, I hope I said that correctly. It happened in Port St. Lucie, Florida. So it happened about an hour and a half south of Orlando area is where it took place.
Yeah. And the cops are like, all right, keep it down. See you later.
Right. And they book it. So
all you
the
minors,
cops,
have fun.
Yeah, so the cops leave. They don't check ID. They don't ask for parents or anything like that. And if you look at Tyler, he doesn't look 21. So I think I'd be asking for ID or something, but I can't speak to police work. I'm not a police officer. So they left. So party's still going. People start thinning out. His best friend did not leave the party, which was a big question in the trial of why he did not leave as soon as he saw it. And he was like, there's nothing I can say to make you understand other than this has been my best friend since we were kids. I knew this was going to be the last time I could see him. I knew I was going to turn him in. I stayed until 4 a.m. and then I went home. So Michael had taken 10 Percocet pills from Tyler because Tyler said after the party, I'm going to take these, I'm going to kill myself, and that's going to be that. So Michael actually took those and hid them in a closet in the house. So Michael,
which makes you wonder if Tyler's like, shit, man, there goes plan B.
Right. So Michael leaves around 4:30 in the morning. He decides he's going to call Crime Stoppers. He didn't call 911. He just called Crime Stoppers because you can be anonymous if you do go that route. So he called. He told him everything that Tyler told him the address, everything. So not only did Michael call, but also Ricardo called from the party. And there was another girl that called. I did not get her name. That also called Crime Stoppers that was like, hey, you might want to check this out. There was a party. People are saying the guy killed his parents. You know, you kind of need to check it out. So everybody had left the party around 4:30 a.m. So at that point, Tyler is pacing his house. Police are showing up. They're sitting across the street just watching the house at this point because they don't know what they're walking into.
Does he know that they're across the street at this point? I don't know. I couldn't find that. I mean, like, I know he was like running around doing stuff, but did he know they were like there?
No, he didn't know they were there. He was pacing. He was talking to himself. He was still removing things from the house in order to put them in that room. So the police actually watched him move like 3 and 4 stacks of books from shelves and going into this bedroom and just like throwing him in there. And it was like everything. So the police were like, okay, let's go knock on this door and see what the kid has to say. As soon as they knock on the door, he kills the lights, shuts them all off. and everything, like, hey, I'm not here.
Can't see me.
Right. So eventually he did answer the door, and the police were like, hey, we got a call. We need to check this out. And he was like, it's okay. You can go ahead and take me to, I think it was like Red
What do you
Rock or
call
Road
it?
Rock. Yeah.
Oh,
And that's the jail in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And they're just like, well, hey, why do we need to go there? And he was just like, oh, well, I did something bad. This happened. So at this point, between what they're able to see so far, and then from the calls that they got from Michael, Ricardo, and the young woman, they went ahead and handcuffed him, put him in the back of the car. As he sees the police entering the home, he starts flipping out. He's like, you can't go in there. You can't go in there. Please don't go in there. And they're
yeah, because
just
that
like,
works. Don't go in
yeah,
there. Don't
right.
go in there.
Correct. So, of course, the police walk in and they start seeing everything. So, they start seeing the trashed kitchen, all the stuff. This is all trashed out. They're able to see the sofa and everything that was trashed there. They see the beer pong table that is set up. They just have like so much things that they're looking at when they first walk in to this area of this home.
Now,
So
did they know why he was piling all that stuff? I mean, because at first I was like, oh, he's trying to hide the bodies. But as the night goes on, I mean, that's weird.
So the a few articles I read said that they were more in the mental state of burying it in a way. The psychologist said that he was in his mind, like, if I just keep pushing stuff on it, it's going to go away. A lot of times, even in children, you'll either ignore it or hide it and it'll go away and no one's going to find out. So they believe that's what they were doing, that he was trying to like bury it so that nobody can find it and just to keep going. So
again, that whole like, you can't see me.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, Rice Krispies is horrible cereal. I agree, Cheech. So as the police were going in and they're looking through, this entire crime scene of everything that they have, they're just finding everything that there's blood splatter everywhere. They've got, this is in front of the master bedroom where they had to rip out the carpet there. It's just, it was everywhere. And they showed where he tried to clean it up. So he tried to use these tools, not very well. And he actually threw everything that he used to clean with in the bedroom with the bodies. So it was basically, I'm going to get rid of everything and it's going to be fine.
And you can tell he had not been one that had to clean much in his house. He had no clue what he was doing.
No. And the police said when they got there, they noticed that he was quite intoxicated. His pupils were very dilated. You could tell that he had drank a lot. So they kind of had to be very careful with questioning him due to not only his age, but due to his condition as well. He actually didn't say he didn't do it. He basically told them everything. He was like, yes, I did it. This is what I did. But he couldn't say why he did it. That was the big question, not only from his family, but from police and attorneys as well. And he just said, I've wanted to kill my parents since I was 10 years old. And every time he got mad, it got just deeper and deeper. And when his parents took his car and his cell phone, and he was just like, that was kind of like the last straw, and that was it.
She took my phone.
He waited. Yeah, he waited for his brother to move to North Carolina before he did the murders, because he didn't want his brother to be there for that. So hopefully, his brother has to deal with that. So his brother wasn't there for it, luckily, but he did wait for him to go because they actually were quite close later in life before this took place. And so he waited for him to move out. He did plan it for about 3 weeks. And he did testify to that in trial. He actually pled no contest to both counts of murder. He didn't say he didn't do it. He was like, yes, I did.
Well, and gosh, could you imagine the poor brother? Because I mean, I know like when they talk about have you reached out to your family or whatever, it was all kind of like, no, because I don't know that they'd want to talk to me. Nothing about putting them through anything. And his
No.
brother's just like, I can't keep going through this.
No, his brother actually, he had a very hard situation for himself. So not only did he have to he had to plan the funerals for his parents, but because his brother was under the age of 18, he was now his brother's guardian.
Mhm.
So he was in a very sticky situation. And he even told his family member at the funeral, I'm leaving from here and I'm going to see my brother. And they're like, well, why would you do that? And he stated, my parents wouldn't want me to abandon him. He was like, I don't know what I'm going to say to him. I might just sit there and cry. Ryan, his brother, actually wrote a book regarding this case and how he got through it in his perspective. And it's called 1,000 Fireflies, and it's by Ryan Hadley. From the reviews I've read, it's a very good in-depth book. I have not read it myself, so I can't speak to it, but it is out there if you're interested.
And I actually did just start the audio version of that book. And, considering the magnitude of what this brother is having to kind of muddle through, you can tell that this writing of this book was very much part of his process.
Absolutely. And, luckily for the family, so he was arrested in July of 2011. He was convicted in March of 2014, and he was convicted with life without parole. He was unable to get the death penalty in Florida because he is a minor. In 2014, the Supreme Court ruled that mandatory life sentences for minors is unconstitutional. Like there has to be a different sentence for minors. So
they just kept switching this up.
Yeah. So in April of 2016, his conviction was actually overturned by an appeals judge just for that reason, stating that they did not select a correct alternative to a life term in prison. So in December of 2018, he was resentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. He does have an automatic review after 25 years. He has been in since 2014. They do not believe he's ever going to get out. They do believe he's going to stay for his natural life. Mm-hmm. He has not shown any remorse or anything while he's been in prison. He's actually made it worse on himself. Prison officials have stated that he's kind of trying to represent himself as kind of like a rock star of the murder world.
Yeah, he's like naughty in jail. He's like,
so he's gotten into some problems there, and trying to give out his autograph to people, saying, oh, you might be able to sell it later, and calling himself the Hammer Boy or Hambo or welcome to Hammertown, like all these things, trying to make himself relevant in prison. And he's not taking his mental health seriously either in prison. He's not doing any of the required classes or anything that he needs to do in order to kind of work on that piece of himself. So he's not doing any of the steps in order to make that review anything fruitful for him when it comes up within the 25 years. So from what I understand and everything that the officials have stated, that he's not going to get out. He's going to be sitting in the Okeechobee Correctional Institution in Florida until he dies.
And his brother was like, because think about it. This happened in 2011. He goes to prison in 2014. In 2018, they overturn it and then redo it.
Right.
I mean, the never ending murder for this brother.
Right. So the resentencing in 2018, actually Blake Hadley's brother came to the trial, and they had to listen to everything again from the 2014 trial for the resentencing. And he stated in several interviews, it's like having a different funeral every couple of years. They're happy with the judge's decision to keep him in for life. He doesn't dispute that, and so he just doesn't want to do this again because it just renews it every time you go in. Mm-hmm. You get to a certain place where you can kind of go on with your life, and then it's just like blasted in your face again. So they're looking forward to not having to do it again. And so the family has done amazing on that. His
Yeah.
brother, it was his only brother, and then both of his parents are now deceased. So that's
But
his only
luckily
family.
he's got like the aunt and other family. And from what I'm understanding, Tyler doesn't talk to any of them.
No, he
And I
does
think
not.
this speaks to, and again, just my opinion, I'm not a doctor, I don't know all that great shit, but I gotta wonder, all of this, and he's still like that. There's no remorse. There's no, in his mind, he's like, and
No,
there's
no, he tried
got to be mental
to.
health involved in that.
Yeah, he tried to say that he was practicing religion and that he was going to try to become a minister if he ever got out, and that he's been trying to, you know, beg forgiveness because he doesn't want to go to hell when he dies and all this stuff. And he's like, they say if I only do this and I get forgiveness, then I don't have to go there, which is a very childish way to look at it. But that's his thinking. So and when he did write his family, it was just like, it wasn't a remorseful letter. It wasn't like, I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry that I put you through this. It was, they just don't want to talk to me. So I'm not going to do it.
It was like, I'm afraid they'll reject me or they'll be mad at me. It was all about his feelings, and he didn't want to deal with how they might react to him.
Yeah. So there was a couple of things that I got from this case. One was, you need to take seriously what teenagers say, especially if they say they're going to kill someone, kill their parents or something like that.
Yeah.
Because to have literally 12 people give the account that they had conversations with him in the 3 weeks and the day of this murder, and they're just like, oh, we didn't think he'd actually do it. And unfortunately, because he wasn't the popular kid in school, he kind of like ran under the radar. There wasn't a lot of people that could speak to his behavior. So the only people that really knew about it was his best friend, Michael, and his parents and his brother. Even when he was in rehab, his mom was very excited that, a week before he came home, she was like, he's better. We've been having conversations. Like, she was very excited about him coming home. Not any indication that he was coming home and he wasn't doing well in treatment or anything like that. And they were looking forward to having him home. And unfortunately, it just did not work out the way she wanted. And the other one was, if police show up at the house, I mean, I haven't had very much run-ins with the police, but I know if like at a house party that they were breaking up, they would probably go in and try to find adults or something like that. I mean, not that it wouldn't have stopped anything because his parents were already deceased and they came back 2.5 hours later. But you have to kind of think of, how many other instances is that going to come into play?
Well, and how many more conversations did he have with people and those young ones? I mean, these are high school kids. And now the next day they're going, gosh, maybe I should have seen something. They have to wear that. However, I mean, there was this one kid that was like, hey man, it was a horrible thing that happened, but at least I can say I was at that party.
Yeah. So there was a lot of no, I do not have an extensive criminal record.
I'm looking at some of these things in chat. I'm just like, these are the best lines ever.
Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah, it's crazy. So I just think that there was a lot of missed issues on here. You can believe me, Scott. I promise.
It didn't need to happen. Part of me is like, because he was in therapy. And I'm like, where's this therapist? But then I remembered after the age of like, I want to say 10, they can't tell the parents anything you're saying unless he directly says he's going to harm himself or them. So he could have been talking all kinds of crazy stuff. And if he didn't say those things, and mom thought he was doing so much better. And she's telling her friends, it's like having my old son back. Yeah, because he already knew he was going to kill you.
Yeah. Lone wanderer. I have had my run-ins with the police and sometimes they don't give a shit. I definitely believe you on that one.
I think I think it just depends. Maybe they were at the end of their shift. Maybe it was like their 4th teenage party they'd gone to that night. I mean, we just don't know the circumstances.
Scott Pigsley, you sure know of a lot about cops, Jen. Yes, I do. So my mom actually worked for a law firm. And I actually, before I went to school for business, I was a criminal justice major. So I kind of like crime, I guess. It's interesting. Yeah, it's a bleak subject, but the mental side of it, the investigative side of it is interesting if you're able to separate it. But the victims also, I can't even fathom about that. So I kind of compartmentalize, if that makes sense, on those.
I think Jason Busey.
If Michelle or Jen was to have a criminal record, I would believe Michelle had one before Jen. At William Devlar, blink twice if she's holding you against your will.
Okay.
Nice.
If that were true, it would only be because I'm old as shit and Jen just hasn't caught up yet.
Yeah, I'm still running. We're still good.
Well, and so I look at, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I looked at this case, there was a few things that really stood out to me. Everything started coming out right when those preteen hormones started kicking in. I can't believe that doesn't have something to do with, like, I think there was something there all along, and those hormones just kind of like flipped the switch.
I think it had, and this is only from what I've read because I'm not a doctor or anything, but it seemed to be when he went through, going through the whole puberty thing and those hormones, but also being on all of the medication that he was on the human growth hormones. And he was actually on an anti-anxiety medication that can cause more, like a bigger chance of suicide with the people that take it. So he was taking a myriad of prescription drugs and recreational drugs and throwing alcohol on top of that, on top of being depressed and everything else. I think that had a bearing on it. I think that it really should have been caught because there was obviously red flags since he was 10. And with everything that he was done. But
I don't know. On the flip side, look at it though. He's like, love you guys, and to be able to sit down to a meal and reach over and give his mom a hug and take a family photo and then be like, come to my party tomorrow. Don't worry, they'll be dead. I mean, there's something missing there that I truly believe was never truly there. Like, I have to believe that or I'm going to lose all faith in humanity. It's got to be scientific in my brain. Otherwise, I just can't take it.
Well, I think I think that's like one of the things that I like digging into is because there's so many facets to why people do the things they do. And so I like to look into those because people are wired. Your brain works, your synapses, throws out things. And when you start taking medication, that kind of changes your brain chemistry from what I understand.
Yeah.
But it's just not good. So I think it did have a bearing on it. But I do think that there was enough red flags maybe for them to have made a little bolder stance on it. Yeah. I mean, it sucks either way, unfortunately.
Well, okay, first of all, these little one-liners in the chat are killing me. You got Cohen with the killer parties to die for. You got, I don't know, some of these are just killing me.
Yeah, I saw Cheech's.
Yeah. So, but I have to wonder, because I don't know, but they must have been a family of some sort of means.
Thanks, Cheech. Sorry, not sorry.
Because, they're doing these controversial things like the growth hormones, and some of the medications were a little on the, I'm not sure kind of side, that speaks desperation as a parent. I know that, I can't speak to what was in Mary Jo. God, I just blanked out her name. She's got to be thinking, okay, my son's at a turning point. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And unfortunately, God, that just didn't end well for her.
No. I would say she had the best intentions. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he just needed more help than he was given. I do believe he needs a lot of help. But he's not helping himself out, unfortunately, where he's at. Mm-hmm. He's still young. I think he's in his late 20s, maybe 30. So, I mean, he's got a long time to sit in prison. So I really hope
he's got to be 26, 27.
Yeah, he's not old. So he's got plenty of time. So hopefully he'll took a little more interest in his mental health. But even when they were sentencing him, the prosecution said, we're not looking for rehabilitation. We are looking for punishment. I mean, they said it flat out when they were in prison, when they were at trial.
Even the judge said the reason why the sentencing was so harsh is, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something along the lines of, not only was this a heinous crime, but the fact that the parent had to live through their child killing them, that it was like unusual pain and suffering type thing on top of it.
Yeah, because Mary Jo actually lived through the entire beating, unfortunately. So then she heard Blake, and that's when she went. But yeah, so she lived through the entire beating, unfortunately. Usually sometimes they'll get lucky and one blow will take them out, but this was not the case for her.
Good night, Noah. Have a good night.
Good night. Good night, Independent Joe.
So one of the things I like to say, guys, as people are, kind of coming and going, is we do this once a month, this Criminals and Cocktails. We do a live every Wednesday night, but once a month we do this Criminals and Cocktails. We like to hear what kinds of cases you'd like us to dig into, or specific cases. Jen and I have both been keeping logs because some people let her know, some people let me know. Drop it in the comments. Throw it in an email to womenofwhiskies@gmail.com. However you need to let us know, because we're here because we love doing this and we love sharing whiskey and true crime with you guys. So let us know the kinds of things that you'd like us to dig into. Let Jen know what kind of cocktails you'd like to see her make. Because I love some of the things that she shoots over to me for ideas. So let us know what you guys want and we'll do it. That's what we're here for.
For sure. Absolutely.
So we are here every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Usually it's the fourth Wednesday of the month that we do our Criminals and Cocktails because of the holidays. The last couple of months we've done the third. So January, it'll be the fourth Wednesday of the month. And Adriana from Whiskey Mountains is going to be joining us to go over our case that night.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I'm super excited about that. Super excited. We haven't figured out what case we're doing yet. So give us some ideas, because we're going to have Adriana on here and she's a true crime fanatic. So shoot us some ideas for that case.
Absolutely. Brewery owner killed his friend in Allen, Texas.
Allen, Texas. Okay. I'm going to write that down. Chris, if you think about it, you can also email us at womenofwhiskies@gmail.com. So some guy in a brewery owner killed his friend.
In Texas.
Okay. Got my pen.
Yeah, because Kara sent me some cases. Roy actually sent me a cocktail thing, and it looks really good, the cocktail he sent me. So
good.
I have to check that out.
Cohen, tonight was Jen's hot toddy, which I've never actually had a hot toddy without tea in it. And so I was really a little nervous thinking I wouldn't like it because I'm not a big, I know we do Criminals and Cocktails, but Jen's expanding my horizons. Yes. I'm not a cocktail person. So definitely need suggestions for cocktails.
Is that too much awesomeness for one stream? Yes.
So yeah, don't forget to hit the like button too. We're a new channel, so it helps us out a lot. I really would appreciate that. You guys are like, I don't know, Jen and I were both very nervous to launch this channel. You guys have been amazing and supportive, and you make it like we're just hanging out and chatting with friends, and that just makes my heart smile. So we appreciate all of you that hang out with us.
Absolutely.
And drink with us and talk dark shit with us.
Absolutely. We definitely enjoy y'all's company. We're glad you're here.
So on that note, I hope you all join us next Wednesday. And we will
thank you, Chris Cox.
What? Oh.
Chris Cox said, excellent work, ladies. Totally entertaining. See you next stream. So we look forward to seeing you too. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. You guys, thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, James.
We'll see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, indeed.
And if you like to drink whiskey with women, if you like true crime and you like cocktails, then subscribe to our channel, turn on the notifications, and we will hang out whenever we can.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you guys for coming, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
All right. Good night, all.
All right. Bye, y'all. Cheers.